guess I need to watch where I'm walking instead of playing with mechanics here. I almost ran into the piano this morning. Well, let's turn to the book of Revelation, chapter 9. Now, before we get into the fifth trumpeter, the fifth angel, as it starts out here in chapter 9, verse 1, let's think back for a moment. John is on the Isle of Patmos. He is enslaved, or he is captured. He is in jail. That's probably a better term. He's in jail. Even though it's in a cave on the Isle of Patmos. He's in prison for the Word of God. The time in which he writes is not a very comfortable time for Christians. They are being persecuted throughout the world, or at least the known world at that time. John writes this letter, this epistle, this book that we have said is an epistle, and also it is a apocalyptic type prophecy, but mainly it's an epistle. He writes it, and the people who first read it have a major concern, and that's for their future. Okay? For their future. Because they see the Christian church being persecuted and wiped out in every place around it. So part of what the book of Revelation does for us, it did for them, is it gave them comfort in the time in which they live to know that God, even in the midst of trouble, was going to protect his people. And we've seen elements of that as we've gone through the book of Revelation. Now, there is a modern application, and let's talk about that. Because that's really where I think we need to focus on with this fifth trumpet. And that is, no matter how bad it gets on earth, God is still in control, and he still protects his people. That's the overarching principle we will see here when we talk about the strange things we're going to see with the locusts and the plague of the locusts in this passage. All right. So today we're going to talk about the fifth trumpet, chapter 9, starting in verse 1. Let's begin there. It says, "And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven onto the earth, and to him was given a key to the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke out of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and upon them was given power, as the power of scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill, them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, and their torment was the torment of a scorpion, when he striketh a man. And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. The shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads, as it were, crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were like the teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were, breastplates of iron. The sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes hereafter. Well, we've got woe, woe, woe. We're only going to get to one woe today, and that's this one. So let's think about, break down this passage a little bit. What I will tell you is that I don't know all the answers as to what this passage means. And if anyone tells you they do, I would kind of disbelieve them if I were you. A lot of times we are left in the text without a biblical explanation of the elements of a prophecy that is given in an apocalyptic form. In some cases, like in the book of Daniel, we are presented with a huge gigantic statue, and then God explains each element of that statue and its pieces. Here, we're given the elements of this angel's message, this trumpeter, but we are not given a direct biblical explanation of what these elements are. Now, having said that, the reason I say that is because it doesn't take very long looking in commentaries or on the World Wide Web to come up with a bunch of men's understanding of what they think these elements are. Okay? So let's first of all, let's talk about the word locust. What is a locust? Well, this is a question because we have these locusts here. Well, let's start off not with the locust, but let's start off with the bottomless pit. Let's talk about the bottomless pit first. We have this element of the bottomless pit that shows up in verse 1. The Greek word here is abyssos. Abyssos. Well, does that sound like an English word? Abyss? Right? Sounds like an English word. Well, that's where our English word comes from. You see, word for bottomless is abyssos. Okay. When I think of an abyss, I heard one newscaster say that Congress came up to an abyss and looked down into it last night before they voted. An abyss is a deep hole. And in fact, it's so deep I cannot see the bottom of that hole. You ever gone to a deep well, gone up to the edge of a deep well, and their natural inclination is to drop a little stone down into that well and wait and see how long it takes for you to hear the sounds of the splash? And have you ever walked up to a hole in the earth or a deep well where you drop that rock or stone and you've not heard the splash? There's some place on earth that has some pretty deep holes, and you could probably do that. Okay? Well, the abyss is essentially a deep hole, and so deep that you don't know how deep it is. And you're afraid to find out. Okay? You're afraid to find out how deep the hole is. Well, that's exactly what the word means in Greek here. It is that kind of hole in the earth, that deep hole. Now, there's another word that goes along with this, and it is the word for pit. It's not only bottomless, but it's also called the pit. It's the bottomless pit. Now, my good friend Thayer, who wrote a Greek lexicon, says the netherworld, speaking of the place of the devil and demons, is thought to increase in size the further it extends from the surface of the earth, and so is to resemble a cistern, the orifice of which is narrow. So this is not only a deep shaft, but it's thought to spread out at the bottom like a cistern. Sort of like when I was in science, when I was in chemistry class, we had these devices that started out with an arrow and that, and I guess that's called, it's not a beaker, it's a flask. It's a flask. Okay. And with wide out at the bottom. So when it talks about the bottomless pit, it's talking about a hole that starts out narrow and goes down and widens out at the bottom. And it's so deep, we don't know how deep it is. But the New Testament uses the term bottomless in several ways. In Romans chapter 10, it says, or who has descended into the deep, that is to bring Christ up from the dead. It is the place or the abode of the dead, the departed, from the biblical perspective, this bottomless pit. It is also understood in Luke chapter 18 to be an undesirable abode to the demons. It says, and they besought him, and this is talking about the time when he went out, and of course there was this man that was possessed with demons, and Christ cast the demons out, and he was going to cast them into the bottomless pit. Okay? And what they asked for was, oh no, throw us in this perfect pigs here that he's going to hurt. Right? So it was an undesired location by the demons. In fact, it's the home of the demons. It's that bottomless pit. It is what we might call hell. It is that bottomless pit. Notice there's a fire associated with it, a burning furnace. One other passage I would lead you to, and we could go there. In Revelation chapter 20, verse 3, it states the following about Satan. It says, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed for a little season. So this bottomless pit, which is described here in chapter 9, verse 1, is also going to be, for sure, the dwelling place of Satan for 1,000 years. Now that's what the Bible tells us. So we have a little bit of a picture of what this is. It's not a great place. It's a place of fire and smoke and trouble, and it's a abode of demons. It's a abode of demons. And in fact, well, we're going to get to that a little later. Now let's talk about the locusts. Let's get a description of locusts. I got an interesting little description here. It says, a locust, particularly the species which infests the Oriental countries, including Israel, Oriental countries, stripping fields and trees, numerous swarms of them, almost every spring, are carried by the wind from Arabia to Palestine. And having a devastating effect, having devastated that country, migrate to regions further north until they perish by falling into the sea. The Orientals are accustomed to feed upon locusts, either raw or roasted and seasoned with salt, or prepared in other ways. And the Israelites also, according to Leviticus 11:22, were permitted to eat them. Now, I tell you about locusts for a reason. Now, locusts, our Texas version of locusts are called grasshoppers. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. Very similar looking kind of creatures. Right? They got the little hopping legs, they got the little wings on the back that they kind of fly around with. You know, at night in Texas, at this time of year, you're allowed to come drive through fields on a highway somewhere, and by the time you're through, 100 yards, your windshield is so messed up with bug juice that you can't see them. Well, that's the type of creature the locust was. It was a grasshopper. Right? We have a plague of locusts that happens in the book of Exodus as well. And so we're really kind of, in these passages we've been looking at here in the book of Revelation, we're kind of mirroring some of the plagues that took place in the book of Exodus. And as we mentioned last time, some of those plagues have to do with the gods they worship. Right? So, but these locusts these locusts in Revelation are different, very different from the creatures we just talked about. And we're going to talk a little bit about the difference here. All right? We're going to talk about that difference. First of all, the locusts here are given the power of scorpions, according to the passage we just looked at in verse 5 and other places. Locusts are a stinging grasshopper, as they are seen here. And they have a devastating power. They have a devastating power. But they're different. These exude the power of the scorpion. When I was a boy, I was about 10 years old. We lived in Austin, Texas. Actually, outside of Austin, Texas, in a place called Spring. But we lived along the creek. We And my dad, besides being an Air Force recruiter at that time, also sold stuff. You know, he would get boxes of car wax from some person that offered it to him, and then he would go out and sell car wax. He was known buddy to put up a few fences and stuff. There's stories about that. But I'm thinking today about boxes sitting out in our garage. And we had a window in that garage to look out over the 5 acres that we owned at that time. And I climbed up on those boxes to look out the window. Little to I had no knowledge of this, but inside those boxes, a little family of scorpions had decided to make their boat. I got stung on both knees by Texas scorpions, and believe me, they hurt. Now, these locusts have the power to sting you, which is kind of different for a locust. These locusts are directly commanded not to hurt the grass, neither any green thing, neither any tree, in verse 1. Now that's directly against the nature of the locust. What do we read about it? He gets every green thing on the earth, eats it all, and then moves on to someplace else where he can eat every green thing on the ground. Why are those grasshoppers out in the cornfield? They're out there eating, guess what? Green things, right? But these locusts here in Revelation do not eat green things. All right, let's look at a little more about these locusts and how they're different. They are told to hurt men. Now, I used to capture grasshoppers as a child, and I put them in a jar or something else. I used to capture scorpions too. That's a different story. But the grasshopper was not known for biting. I didn't have to worry about grasshopper biting or grasshopper hurting. But these locusts specifically were to hurt men. Okay? Now, not only were they to hurt men, but they were only to hurt certain men. We'll get to that in a second. The men attacked by these locusts are only the men who, according to Scripture, did not have the seal of God in their foreheads. Now I want you to remember back to the sixth seal, which we talked about, which led up to the 7 trumpets, which we're now at. The sixth seal, and what was the sixth seal all about? Well, there's this, the end of the sixth seal, that was the stars falling from heaven, the sky rolling up like a scroll, all of that stuff. And right after the sixth seal, we have a break in the action, which is chapter 7. Remember that? Okay, and in chapter 7, one of the first things that happened, well, let's just go back there. Chapter 7. Verse 1. And after these things I saw the 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that they should not blow upon the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given, to hurt not the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth and the sea, nor the trees, till we have the seal. till we have sealed the servants of God in their foreheads. So, these creatures, these locusts, are told to hurt those that in chapter 7, verses 1 and 2 and 3 there that we just read, were sealed with the seal of God. The 144,000 of the tribes of Israel, and then the innumerable multitude which followed them were the ones who received the seal. Okay? And these are told not to be hurt by these locusts with the stings of scorpions. Okay? And verses 4 on down through, on down through verse 9 in chapter 7 are those that are sealed by God. So, during this same time, in chapter 7, verse 1, there was a protection given to the earth, as it is during this trumpet. Now, we've seen some things that destroyed grass and other stuff, but at this particular point, the earth is not to be disturbed, sort of like chapter 7, verse 1. Similarly, during the plagues in Egypt, during the early plagues in Egypt, God protects his people in the midst of plagues, sort of like he does here with this fifth trumpet. I want to give you a couple of examples. In Exodus 8:22 it says, "And I will sever this day the land of Goshen in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end that thou mayest know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth." All right, and then again in chapter 9, verse 24 through 26, again we're in those plagues during the time that Moses was there in Egypt before the Passover. It says, "So there was hail, and fire mingled with hail, very grievous, such as there was none like it in the land of Egypt since it became a nation. And the hail smote throughout the land of Egypt, all that was in the field, both man and beast, and the hailstones smote every herb of the field, and brake every tree of the field. Only in the land of Goshen, where the children of Israel were, there was no hail." So even in the midst of the greatest of the world's troubles, right here at the seventh seal, right in one of those woes, those sighs and pains, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, right in the midst of that, God still can protect his people and separate them from the plague he has brought upon the earth. Okay. So these locusts are set about to hurt men, but only certain men. Their activity, according to verse 10, lasts only 5 months. Now, I saw a website in my search for information about this fifth trumpet that says that the BP oil spill, lasting 5 months or so, was this plague. Now, I don't necessarily see that in Scripture, but I just thought I might point it out. Of course, that same website calls for the world to end in May of last year or something. So, and I don't think that happened, so we're going to ignore that. Oh, it was May 21st May 21st. And I take it, since it was written that same year, that it was thinking that it was going to be May 21st. So, anyway. I just want to warn you that you can find a lot of people who misinterpret the Scripture. The locusts here are described as very different from the normal locust. If we look at verses 7 through 10 of chapter 9, we see it says, "And the shapes of locusts were like unto horses, prepared unto battle, and on their heads were crowns of gold, and their faces were as the faces of men, and their hair was as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions, and their breastplates as it were breastplates of iron, and the sounds of their wings was as the sound of chariots, many horses running to battle, and they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months." Now there's symbolic language used here. They were like unto horses prepared to battle. Well, a horse was very useful at that time for battle. Right? Now you could get on a mounted horse, you could travel faster. Horses, if you go back into poetry from the 19th century backwards, you'll see a lot of poetry about horses and how much valor they had in battle, how they were honorable for battle, and they were strong and powerful, and they were uplifted in poetry and books. Well, that does kind of tend to lead to you that this passage may be discussing war, because there are a lot of warlike elements spoken about here. There are the breastplates of iron and those things. There's a lot of elements of war, but the term war is not specifically used here. So I would caution you with your interpretation of what these locusts actually are. Could they be creatures that God has reserved in the depths of our earth to release at a certain time to torture men? Well, yes, could be. Right? I'm not saying that's it, but it could be. Could it be spiritual creatures? I mean, after all, we've got earlier in the chapter, earlier in Revelation, we got 4 creatures around the throne. Some of them have the head of men and lions and bears, but they have bodies of other stuff. Okay? We've got some pretty strange looking creatures in the book of Revelation. Now, here again, I want you to go back to the fact that we don't have an explanation of these creatures. But I have seen some modern interpretations. We have them looking like horses or being like horses. They have crowns on their head, faces of humans, hair like women, breastplates like iron breastplates, wings that sound like chariots. The last 2 of those certainly sound like characteristics of battle without any indication to the warfare of man. Now, what I want you to also understand is we're going to get here in a minute, and we're going to find out who the king of the locusts is. And the king of the locusts is not a man. Could this be a direct act of God? I think so. Not necessarily having man involved. God doesn't need man to bring his plagues upon the earth. He doesn't need man or his implements of war. Now, having said that, again, I'm allowing here for some pretty wide speculation, but let's keep it in the area of speculation rather than interpretation. I found one website, and this I looked specifically for this interpretation because I've seen it in many places. I want to read to you what they say about these locusts. The locusts, as clear from their description, are no ordinary locusts. They are war machines, as it is made clear by the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses to battle. Verse 7. And they had breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots running to battle. Verse 9. The combination is descriptive. A descriptive item suggests camouflage military helicopters. We cannot expect John to have understood what he was seeing. So this description must be interpreted. Must be interpreted. This is absolute that these are military helicopters according to this writing. He says the helicopters are called locusts because they have bodies shaped like locusts. They fly erratically. They fly in packs. And they can land and take off on fields. This is also a good indication that helicopters are painted military green and camouflage. Unless they're in the desert. Then they're painted brown. Okay. They kick up dust as they fly and give off smoke as they shoot, and their targets explode, giving off smoke. And there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the great pit, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Chapter 9, verses 2 and 3. Their armor is indicated by their breastplates of iron. Verse 9. The pilot is indicated in the window is indicated by their having, as it were, faces of men. Well, our modern military might have a woman in that same place. The roar of the engines and the rotating blades is indicated by the sound of their wings as the sound of chariots of many running into battle. Verse 9. The whirling blades are indicated by they had hair as the hair of women. Verse 8. A helicopter's tail goes straight out and then it has a vertical tail fin. They had tails like scorpions. Verse 10. Now, not all helicopters have tails like that. My dad used to jump out of perfectly good airplanes for a living. And one of the aeronautic vehicles he used to jump out of was a two-bladed helicopter. It had a blade at one end and a blade at the other, and it was shaped like a big beam. Now, it's not that modern one that keeps crashing that the military will use now, but it's another that's like that. So not all helicopters are equal in these descriptions, I might point out. They are equipped with guns and missiles, and there were stings in their tails, verse 7. And on their heads were crowns of gold, verse 7. The rotor rods and blade supports are highlighted with gold. Now, not on every helicopter I've seen, and not on every military helicopter I've seen. I can certainly tell you that. Okay. The typical, as is typical for a military craft, the face of the helicopters is painted with a furious jaw. Their teeth were as the teeth of lions. Now, does every helicopter have a jaw? I saw that more on a lot of fighter jets from World War II. I've seen pictures. Mostly, this kind of article was put with a picture of Apache helicopters, which may fit some of those descriptions, but not every helicopter. So these must only be Apache helicopters. But here's my point. All of this is fun speculation. The source of the speculation, in this case, a man named Angelo Amberson, but this speculation is not new to him. It might be great speculation, and I like to speculate about things in the Book of Revelation, but it's not good interpretation. Let's separate it from interpretation. It is strictly speculation. There are specific rules which we must operate by to correctly interpret the Bible. And this speculation doesn't use those rules. All right. Having said that, there's no indication in Scripture that the source of this plague is man. According to Scripture, it is the action of God through His messenger that releases the plague. The source of the plague is the bottomless pit, which I believe must be a real place for Satan to be bound in for 1,000 years. Now, God only knows where it is, and God only can make it appear. So it is not the source of men. The smoke coming out isn't because these are helicopters. It's because God wants smoke to come out of it, and there's a great fire and furnace in this small spider called the bottomless pit. Now, I want you to notice also this speculation about war is fun, but what's the purpose of war? What's the purpose of helicopters? You ever seen a gunship helicopter? What's its purpose? Kill people and break stuff. Kill people and break stuff. And they don't care if there's a tree in the way or a blade of grass when they shoot their bows. Guess what? You go to a place where those helicopters have been doing their job, and the grass, the trees, the people, the stuff is all destroyed. Okay? Now, that doesn't indicate to me that these are helicopters, because these helicopters are specifically told to do what? To hurt men, not to kill them. These locusts. They're told not to destroy the grass or the trees. Okay? They're told to only hurt certain people. You know, recently in Libya, I think it was probably the Frenchmen, could have been the British. It wasn't us in this case. They bombed the Caliban tanks. They bombed the long column tanks, according to the missions. Guess what? Innocent people that weren't supposed to be hurt, were destroyed by helicopters and airplanes. Because collateral damage happens in the hands of man. I love that old tank general that used to come along during the Gulf War. And I got that statement about war from him. He said, I can see him up there, he's a big fella. He's a big fella back during the Gulf War. And he was an old white-haired guy. And of course he was a general. He had a bunch of battle ribbons on his chest. He says, now the purpose of war is breaks them and kill them. That's what he said. And I took away from that. I thought, that's pretty insightful from the old tank. The purpose of war is to break stuff. And so if this were warfare on the common kind of warfare we're talking about with American-made helicopters or French-made helicopters, would be directed by man, and it would be disastrous. So, I guess my point is let's be careful about what we interpret here about this particular trumpet or any of the elements in the book of Revelation that aren't explained by God. It may sound good to us, but when you really break it down to its element cores, it doesn't meet the good test of Scripture. Okay? So, I'm done making fun of interpretations of this passage. I want to tell you one other difference between these locusts and true locusts. The animal locust, if you will. And to do that, I'd like to point out that these locusts have a king. These locusts have a king. Let's see. In verse 11, and they had a king over them. Everybody see that? They have a king over them. Let's talk about Proverbs chapter 30, verse 27. The locusts have no king, yet they go forth, all of them by bands. Now this is talking about the animal locusts. Little birds, what do? They go by swarms. You ever see those ones that hit your windshield at night? They're not purposely heading for your windshield, but they're just kind of going along like this, and they happen to cross the road about the time you're going. That's called a swarm. They got nobody leading them. They're just kind of going along in a big pile looking for the next piece of grass. Right? Or the next cornfield. Locusts have no king, but these locusts in Revelation, being different, have a king. All right. Now the name of these locusts. Let's take a look at that. In verse 11 as well. And we're going to kind of close up here because we're getting to the end of the woe now. One woe will be past soon. And the king over them, which is an angel of the bottomless pit, or messenger of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Apollyon. My name is William. Richard William. William comes from a Germanic word. Okay? Just us. That Germanic word means Helen. Okay? So you could call me Helen. I suppose. Please don't. Or you could call me William. There's other things you could with. But my point is this. In different languages, the same name may be. If I was in German, I might call somebody Helen. Well, he's really got the same name as me. Or you might call him Wilhelm. He's really got the same name as me. But it's in a different language. Well, that's what we have here. We have the same name in two different languages. One Hebrew. Now, to find out what it means in English, we have to look it up in the lexicon, which I did. I spent all the time in the lexicon. Both these words, Apollyon and Abaddon, mean destroy. Destroy. Like a ship, destroy. Guess who's the destroyer? Satan. Satan is the destroyer. Okay? I saw a star fall from heaven. That's how this passage starts. Sometimes God's angelic beings are called stars. So this picture, and now I'm using interpretation. I'm not saying that it's necessarily the absolute correct interpretation here, but this star that fell from heaven is a picture of the fall of Satan to the earth, and the king of this bottomless pit is Satan himself, the destroyer. So what we have here is a play playing before the eyes of John, which he merely recorded, which has spiritual implications. Who was it? Was it Elisha or Elijah? I think it was Elijah. Maybe it was Elisha. You know, he had a fellow, and the city was surrounded. Remember the story? He had a servant, the city was surrounded. He was worried about the fact that they were going to be attacked and killed and all that stuff. And so the guy was worried about it because he couldn't physically see any protection for him. Guess what he did? The prophet told his servant to look up. And when he looked up, he saw the armies of God, spiritual ones. So these creatures and all of this play could be had on a spiritual realm. Its effects are upon men, but only certain men, those that do not have the seal of God. So let's summarize. I think there's several points we can take away from this. First of all, you don't necessarily have to have a prophecy decoder ring that explains all of the symbols in the book of Revelation. And if you do, go away. It's good to read after other people's interpretation, but then I kind of revert to that, believe none of what you read and only half of what you see, because that is the modern problem. Sometimes when we're in these books, even a good interpreter stops his interpretation and does speculation. And we, as good students of the Bible, must recognize when the interpretation stops and the speculation. So be careful. People told me when I started reading, I started to preach the book of Revelation, that, I would never preach that book. I'd be afraid to preach that book because I might add something to or take something away from the text. And we're warned about that. Well, I said, I'm not. God put it in there. He called me as a preacher. I'm going to preach the word. Now, what does that mean? It means when I come to passages like this, I'm not going to go too far beyond the text. And I try not to do that. I just told you what it wasn't. I don't know what it is. I told you that these locusts are different. And I think sometimes we need to be careful about that because there's many times in the Bible when we run across passages, especially in prophecy, which aren't for our time and weren't for us to understand. Now, we can read it and we can get comfort. We are blessed for reading it just like John says we will be. But I don't understand what goes on here. Other than men are tormented for 5 months, right? That they're hurt in some way like the scorpions, but not all men are hurt, only those who do not have the seal of God. That's all I know about this passage. And then there's some pretty strange creatures here that sort of look like locusts that are involved. And I know that the source of this activity comes from the bottomless. That's all. So, be careful in your interpretation. Now, second of all, I think the thing that we can be comforted about And that's why I pointed it out in the introduction. I think the second great application and principle in this passage is this. It doesn't matter how bad things are around you, how bad world conditions get, how horrible it is that our government might shut down, like we all worried. Doesn't matter how bad we are, if we live in a war-torn country or somewhere else, God sees us, knows us, those of us who are His children, and He protects us. Now, this protection is God's protection. He's done it before. I can see some examples of that in the book of Exodus. There's chaos all around you, and God's protecting. He protected the people in Goshen right where they were. He didn't take them away. Now, not all of the plagues received the same protection. Don't get me wrong. We're going to run into some trumpets and some woes and some old judgments here where it doesn't give us that same level of comfort with the protection of God for the people of earth. But right now, the people that are on earth when this plague occurs, that are Christ, will receive protection. Sister Brother Jim.